What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. You're listening to episode 247. I am your host, Greg. I'm here tonight with Ryan, and we are 3 games into the season. A couple bangers. All of the games have been really good. I have almost lost my voice. Thank you, everyone, on opening night. That was amazing. But Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. We finally got to be at a Red Wings game, which was fantastic. What's also fantastic is pretty much how they've been playing up to this point, which we will obviously be talking about. So yeah, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, like I said, thanks to everyone that came out on opening night, talked to us. We had a great time. Huge group as normal, like we always do. But I feel like every year it like almost doubles. And it was just a lot of people. And it was really cool being able to meet people that listen to us or watch us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter. So thank you for everyone that came out for saying hi. That is why tonight I am drinking tea and I am not drinking beer because I need to be able to talk throughout this whole thing. No, the Founders 4 Giants, the new one is very good.
That's what it is. Starcatcher Haze.
Beautiful.
Delicious.
But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go kind of through a 3-game recap, our feelings on the season so far, even though it is very young. Some of our standouts, we're going to go a little bit over the PK and the power play, and just our overall thoughts heading into who do we play tomorrow?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, Jesus.
Couldn't tell if that was a question or not until I saw your face there.
We'll talk about all that heading into the game against Pittsburgh tomorrow when you're probably going to be listening to this podcast, hopefully.
I will be at the game.
You suck. So off the top, a little bit of housekeeping news. Robbie Fabbri was injured. He is now not quite ready to play, according to Daniela Bruce. He did warm up before the team practice, but did not take part in practice with the team. I mean, news, I guess, not really, because literally Robbie Fabbri's bones are made out of glass. But he is currently injured and should be back. It's day to day is what they're calling it right now.
Yeah, got injured after, was it during? It was the Devils game he got hurt during because they called up Zach Aston-Reese as a potential
fill, and then they
ended up going 11
down.
and 7, and then Reese never saw the lineup, and then he got sent back down, and Zarnik did for game 3.
He got hurt before the home opener, which we were like, oh yeah, because we had the oh shit moment, like they might go 11 and 7, and they did, and it was great. It was excellent. So off the top, the Red Wings, they came out really good, I think, against New Jersey Devils. So if we want to start with game 1, they played a good game. I mean, it was not, if it wasn't for like 3 or 4 posts, they would have won that game.
In the first period, no less.
Yeah, exactly. Like Klim Kostin hit a post like really quickly right in that first. And if that would have went in, you would have gone in with a tie. There were some questionable calls. Officiating was a bit suspect. I'm not blaming officiating for the game.
Some of those, though, I don't blame them for.
Sure, there were some weak. I think there were a couple weak slashing calls, like pretty weak slashing calls.
The one on Perron, I think you're talking about in particular, was it like near the blue line? New Jersey was going on a break.
Oh, wait a minute. Thanks for joining us, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing great. Discord, not so much. So I am here. Discord giving me issues. So I had to improvise, take the link and send it to myself. And then finally, I was able to join. So my bad, guys.
Fashionably late is not a podcast thing, Tyler. Chop, chop. Ryan,
I understand that.
Continue about the penalty kill.
While it was likely some weak calls, it unfortunately is the state of the NHL. And I know one in particular you're probably referring to was David Perron, the slash that they gave him across the hands. Was around the blue line.
The tappy tap on the hands.
More often than not, you don't seem to see that called. But this one,
and I would agree. If Dylan Larkin didn't have the stick launched out of his hand like 3 minutes prior.
Yeah. It's just, and I think it's one of those situations maybe where the individual that got called, his history may have preceded why that was even a thing, or that there might have been some words said from Perron to the official. Not really sure because of how ticky-tacky it actually was, but it put him in a hole. And then later on, you had the no-brainer penalty on Petrie. So it was, they shot themselves in the foot after that first period against New Jersey. And they really just couldn't recover. They just didn't seem comfortable. It took them too long to really settle in after that first period, which was kind of weird because you thought they had that momentum going the way they did. It wasn't like 14-6 in shots or something like that. Just domination.
That's the one thing the Wings were really good at through three games was shot suppression. You can see them just absolutely collapsing and shutting down any kind of forecheck that the opposing team has. They get in there, they block the lanes, they shut it down, and they go the other way. Through 3 games, the pressure has been rather light in the
Mhm.
D zone for the Red Wings. So that's what's been really impressive. And if you look at the game card, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to throw it up on the screen. If you look at the game card from that New Jersey Devils game, your most impactful players were Shane Gostisbehere and Justin Holl. For as much as people want to shit on Justin Holl, he really had no negative impact on that game. Neither did Shane Gostisbehere. And then you've got
Mhm.
positives in Robbie Fabbri, Jake Wallman, Dylan Larkin, which should always be a positive. Daniel Sprong. Now, some of them have a negative defensive impact, but they made up for it in offense.
Sprung.
But it's the first game, and it was where they're all getting used to each other. They're getting used to the system. They're working together, trying to figure out chemistry. From that game, though, my negative takeaways were, what is going on with Jeff Petrie? And I
I'd ask the
said
same
that,
of David Perron at this point too.
yeah,
Both.
that threw, but David Perron threw 3 because Jeff Petrie was scratched the last game. David Perron has looked not like David Perron. I mean, he's normally slow, but now he's slow and looks lost half the time.
It's weird too because I think we talked about it in the offseason. He specifically called himself out for losing 8 to 10 pounds roughly to try to
Yeah,
work and
to get
improve his skating.
faster.
And so far, I don't know. There's a gear missing up to this point. Maybe he's not comfortable yet, but I mean, he's floated up and down the line so far. Last game against Columbus probably his better one of the 3 so far, but I get it. Usually see about 8 to 10 games for a lot of these guys. It takes him to finally get settled in, but so far he's off to a bit of a slow start to me.
Tyler, what did you think of game 1?
Game 1, I mean, I thought they played 2 really good periods, and then their third period was not good.
Brutal.
I think it was kind of a microcosm of penalties. Obviously, it kind of cost them a little bit. And then also not stepping up on Jack Hughes, not once, but twice. I know there's one that was kind of, who was it that stepped in front of Seider?
It was a 3-on-2 for New Jersey. Hughes was kind of pushing up the right center, going through almost the face-off dots. Seider was more or less in front of him, and as Hughes was making his cuts, Seider was stopping to go forward, and Sprong just came barreling through and basically took out. I shouldn't say he took him out, but eliminated from the play Seider, who was getting ready to push that stick forward like he typically does with that giant reach of his, and it gave oh my God, Hughes the room that he needed to fire it home past the glove.
Yeah, and the other one, Seider's got to step up there. I mean, I think it was a 2-on-2, or maybe it was even a 1-on-1, and
Yep.
Seider's backing up, and then Hughes just goes and takes the shot. And instead of Seider stepping up, I know he's good at stepping up typically, so it's not me calling out Mo Seider, but I mean that is kind of a deciding factor in this game. Mo Seider not stepping up in that case. I'm not saying you got to step up and totally, injure Jack Hughes or anything like that. But, put a shoulder on him, put a stick on puck, and eliminate the puck carrier from the play. And in this case, it's Jack Hughes, one of the best players in the NHL. And I'll tell you what, he continues to get better every time I watch him. So that's a very dangerous player that they weren't able really to keep in check, which is kind of unfortunate. But again,
Yeah.
not surprising considering how good of a hockey player he is.
Yeah, looking at the game score and kind of how Mo struggled that first game, I would say
He did.
it's a lot of guys, and it's not just him, but there were moments on the PK and just other times where he was kind of just there and not the typical I'm going to go put my hip into your back and make you lose the puck and take it from you and go.
It was to the point where someone even asked, like, "Hey, is Mo hurt?" And we're like,
Yeah.
"No." And he was, and that reflects in the game card. He was bottom 3. The bottom
Yeah.
3 players in that game were Mo Seider, David Perron, and Jeff Petrie. Right above Ben Sherratt was a step above Mo Seider that game, which is
And
not what
and
you
the
want
names
to
at the
see.
bottom there were not surprising.
No, And it did turn around though. So game one, it was a winnable game. We played very well against one of the best teams in the league. I mean, I think I picked them. Didn't I pick them this season for Stanley Cup? I'm pretty sure I did. That was my selection. When we were on the Dr. Hockey podcast, they asked us about the Stanley Cup, and I had the Devils. So that was my way too early prediction. And they looked the part. I mean, you need a game breaker. Jack Hughes is a game breaker. Absolutely. So I was hopeful though. I'll take the loss. And I was hopeful by the fact that we played a game in which we could have won when that team came out flying and was one of the best teams in the league last season and looks to be one of the best teams in the league this season.
Yeah.
Although they got bag skated today. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. What was the score?
They lost last night after they were down 4-0 with about 11 minutes left in the third period. They come back and made the game 4-3 and lost 4-3. And Lindy Ruff has the audacity to bag skate them this morning.
I think I also saw
after
that
like
Timo
3
Meier,
games.
Yeah, Timo Meier was also benched for most of the third.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a tweet posted out there because of penalties that he took. So the Fire Lindy chance will be starting the next game at home.
Well, he just got an extension.
Oh, I know.
So that's going to be a little hard.
We're just going to repeat last season. They're 1-1-1. Wow, was not expecting that through 3 games so far. So,
well, Ryan likes to call me the mass hole of the group in Massachusetts, but those people in New Jersey are those fucking Jersey pros that just anything goes wrong, they start screaming from the rooftops. So
I think that's most sport fans anymore. So
we're gonna move on to the Tampa Bay Lightning game, which was the home opener, and the building was electric. The goal horn is phenomenal. I love it.
Are you able to snip it in right here? Because that would just be icing on the cake.
I do have a recording. Okay, so if you wait a minute, here is the new goal horn. And it was introduced by Darren McCarty, which was even better. And then we do have a new goal song, and it is Eminem, and there are people that hate it. They absolutely hate it. Shannon, who is the hockey guy on YouTube, says the song is annoying. He put it at the bottom of his list. That makes it even
better.
So I like it. I'll take it. And you're going to play me.
Has he heard Chelsea Dagger? Chelsea Dagger's not annoying.
The worst.
Fucking break.
Chelsea Dagger is the worst goal song of all time.
I love the way that they embraced Eminem. You've seen Eminem nonstop at Lions games. They brought it back old school, if you will, with the horn. It's basically a reincarnation of the Joe horn. And I think there's 3 of them that they were able to finally put in and install for LCA.
Yeah, it's a 3-horn setup. The Joe Louis horn was 2 horns. This one it's 3 horns, so it's louder. The reason they didn't use the Joe Louis horn at LCA is it was not loud enough. It didn't fill the space. The space is much larger. So they made a 3-horn horn, redundant. That's what they're called? That is the horn. Yeah. It's a 3-horn horn that replicates basically the sound of the Joe Louis horn, but is now loud enough to take up the entire space. And boy, is it loud enough to take up the entire space. And it sounds phenomenal. So
it sounds great on the broadcast, no less, too.
The amazing horn matches the quality of the product on the ice currently. And it was just the home opener was probably the most exciting home opener we've had since we've been going as like a group. Because
2 years ago, the 7-6 game that they lost to Tampa was probably up.
And we were all sitting together for that one too. That one was exciting as hell.
I think this is the most hopeful we've been going into a home opener.
Yes, that is.
They lived up to it. So I mean, you had Alex DeBrincat score a goal on home ice, and it was beautiful. So Alex DeBrincat that game, and again, goal scorecard's going to go up. Our stat card's going to go up on YouTube. Alex DeBrincat made that game his bitch. He was everywhere, constantly finding open space, firing the puck to the point where, like, the next game against Columbus, they're like, we need to be doubling up Alex DeBrincat at all times. If he is left open, he's going to score. And that's what he did.
DeBrincat went with the pucks on net theory against Tampa there.
And the chemistry just kept building. So your third most impactful player, who was bumped up to the top line, is Lucas Raymond.
Ooh.
because Lucas Raymond has also been flying. He destroyed a man. That man, he unalived a person into the Red Wings bench, which I think it was Mikey Isamont. Raymond
Yeah.
just took all 12 of his new pounds and trucked him right into the bench.
If you can put the freeze frame up on the YouTube of Rasmussen's face when that's happening,
Is it
the
funny?
utter joy that
Amazing.
he showed of his feet flying over the boards, and he was talking shit too as he was sitting there. Fantastic.
We're sitting there watching the recap with my dad, and my dad just looked at Ryan and he's just like, look at number 27 Rasmussen's face.
Ras is like, hey, buddy, some quarters fell out of your pocket. Might want to pick those up on your way out of the bench.
It's even better if that's what he said.
I think he said sit down.
Yeah,
It
have a
looked
seat,
like
sir.
he did say that.
I think he did say that.
And it's just now going forward because they played that top line again in Columbus. There's a lot of synergy there. And Lucas Raymond is flying up the ice and he is getting himself open and he's taking shots and he got rewarded. He did score a goal.
Off great pressure from Larkin in the corner.
Well, I believe I was in the bathroom or outside or somewhere.
I don't think any of us had made it back to our seats by that
No,
point.
I hadn't made
I
it
was
back to my
standing
seat
there
either.
in the atrium, or not atrium, the concourse, and all of a sudden everything went nuts. So I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, so Raymond gets his first of the season. That's a monkey off his back. He's got 2 points in 3 games, and he's working his way into that top line role away from, because they started with Perron and it was awful. And Perron has now been bumped down to, I believe, after this game, the 3rd line. So we'll see what happens going forward there. But Lucas Raymond looks like he belongs on that top line. Another guy who really impressed, JT Compher. Shane Gostisbehere was impressive. Daniel Sprong got a goal. Mo Seider turned his game around and scored with 0.6 seconds left on the clock, to the point where when he scored, Tampa left. Like, I think they were supposed to have another face-off with like 0.6 seconds left on the clock. Yeah. And Tampa's like, fuck it, we lost, and they left. It was great. That game was fantastic. Your bottom players in that game technically were Michael Rasmussen, Andrew Copp, and David Perron. Again, Copp turned his game around this last game. So really impressive home opener. Great crowd, great atmosphere, great score. I mean, I don't think you could have asked for more out of your home opener, because they were getting aggressive. They were hitting guys. Again, taking away lanes, and the Red Wings win 6-4.
Yeah, I think what was most impressive, and especially when you go back and watch the highlights, is the emotion that you saw from Larkin in that game. And his post-game comments really spoke to how much the crowd, I think, got those guys going, because he mentioned, or highlighted, that it was one of the probably loudest, or most, he used the word electric, crowds that he's seen there yet. And he hopes that's a sign of things to come when this team can finally get over the hump. I think he was trying to avoid saying once they make the playoffs, but that was the implied that he was getting towards. And he was right, though. It was nonstop at, like, when the Let's Go Red Wings chants are every couple of minutes, you know something's going well. And it was fantastic. But, I mean, for an opener, the way DeBrincat, I mean, he was an inch away from a freaking hat trick, man. That first goal that Sprong got, right, Sprong? If it doesn't hit the post and is like 1 inch to the right, there's number 1 for DeBrincat, and he's got 2 more shortly after that. And now you got a hat littered on the ice, and that would have been what, the 3rd hat trick in a home opener in the last like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we had Mantha and we had
one.
Bertuzzi.
Mantha had 4-goal game.
Had 4 goals apiece.
So Dylan Larkin actually had a really good quote asked about the crowd. He said the crowd was unbelievable. I haven't heard that noise maybe ever in this building. It's the best building in the NHL when the fans are going like that. It's going to be really special when there's big hockey games here. And that's the line. There's big hockey games here. And he's alluding to the playoffs. And I think the guys, Klim Kostin, even said the same thing kind of after the game against Columbus, where he said that you can't be a soft team in the playoffs. Like, when you go into the playoffs, you need to be an aggressive team or a heavy team. So it's in their head. The guys said, we are making playoffs this season, and they're putting that product on the ice. Now, it's all about staying healthy. But so far, the product that we've seen is a product that I think could contend for a playoff spot, especially with how they played against Tampa. Regardless of having Vasilevsky or not, they played a very good game against them. And I mean, I think the one word I used for the Tampa game was complete. It was a very complete game from start to finish, and they finished it out strong.
Just as you guys alluded to, an electric crowd. Every hit, you could hear the crowd. That hit and behind the net, was it Sprong that made that hit?
No, the hit behind the net was Fisher, and it was right after
That's right.
the Raymond.
That wasn't a hit. No, that wasn't a hit. That was a
was a
flying
destruction.
tackle. He was hit from one direction, and then Fisher flew over and just tackled.
Valeno
They like
just missed him. He was trying to do the hockey butt hit,
they
and he
tabled
like
him,
slid past him into the boards, and then Fisher just like, nope, not today. Dead.
destroyed him. Flying
Yeah, he
tackle from Christian
destroyed him.
Fisher.
However, the downfall to that was literally on that same rush back up the ice, Tampa scored.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like I said, full throat every time that there was a nice hit there. Obviously, the goals. I love the M&M. I really do. I don't care what anyone says, whether it's annoying or not. You know what? If it's going to be
one
annoying,
person not from Detroit that's saying that. So
there's a lot of
don't see it.
annoying things that happen in the NHL that I don't care for, or other people don't care for, that
Who
those
cares?
fan bases like. So you know what? They can get over that as far as I'm concerned. As far as the gameplay on the ice, I mean, they have looked as good as they could possibly have looked over the last 3 games. I know the first game they had their issues. The second game, as we were talking about here, Tampa. I mean, the guys that we've gotten, the Comphers, the DeBrincats, the Costins, the Fishers, those guys, the Gostisbehere as well. They've all contributed, man. I mean, me and Ryan were talking about this because I was with Ryan throughout this whole weekend in person, and talking to him about this. The Wings could not have had a better performance from some of their new guys, or pretty much all of their new guys at this point. Petrie is probably the only one that I need to see more from. But then again, he's 35 years old. So are you going to see, is the best hockey of him behind him? More than likely. So I guess as good of a home opener as you could have asked for. I mean, and then obviously we're going to talk about the third game.
With Petrie, we either need to see more from him or less of him. Those are the only two choices.
Or never again.
And right now we're getting the less of him because he was benched for the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which we'll go into. This is another game, again, total domination, basically. I mean, Reimer bailed them out. They had a rough first maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the first period.
Rough first period.
Okay, we can argue that, but Reimer, stout, man. You want a backup goalie, you get a guy who's a starter, and that's what Reimer is. He locked down that entire game, made some spectacular saves to keep them to keep it 0-0 really quick there. And Shane Gostisbehere pops off, gets a goal. Olli Maatta is your second most effective player. After being scratched game 1, Olli Maatta is your second most effective player in that game.
Which is still number 1. Head scratcher to me, but continue. I'll touch on that.
I'll take it. Joe Veleno's number 3. Andrew Copp is number 4. So this is a game where we saw Andrew Copp. I think when they slide him to 2C, put Compher on the wing, and made Joe Veleno 3C during that game.
Yep.
Because Fabbri's out and Austin Czarnik slotted in at 4C. It was, I mean, again, that was a game where you went from shaky in the Devils game. You played very well and you could have won that game, but you didn't. To a more complete game in Tampa, or against Tampa, where you took over that game and you won. To an absolute ass kicking of the Columbus Blue Jackets, a shutout. It was a 4-0 shutout. Absolutely, this is a game the Red Wings should win, and maybe Tampa or maybe Columbus should have got a goal or two that Reimer had saved. But you go into this game, you go into their house, and you burn it down. And again, great game from Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, Jake Wallman was fantastic in this game. Mo Seider had picked his game up in game 2 and game 3 and continued it here. Klim Kostin beat the shit out of, not beat the shit out of, he fought Eric Goodbranson, which is one of the heavyweights in the league. He's a bigger guy. And that's where Costin said, you can't let other teams push you around. When you go into the playoffs, you can't let teams push you around. And he said, we're not going to do that this year. We're
Yeah.
not going to be a soft team. And that makes me excited for Saturday when we hopefully push Brady Tkachuk's teeth down his throat. So it'll be really interesting going into Saturday against the Ottawa Senators. But the Columbus Blue Jackets game, Ryan, what do you got?
I like the way that outside the first period, to me, it wasn't the home opener for Columbus, but they were coming off a high, I think, of beating the Rangers the other day, and Detroit, they were just, I mean, they were kind of there. They weren't doing enough to really. They were chasing the puck a lot. Defensively, they weren't skating enough, and I think that was a conversation, Tyler, we had before we got you to the airport. Is that they were gliding around and they weren't really putting an effort to go after a guy along the boards. They're letting Columbus kind of walk through the middle of the zone, and more often than not, it led to Reimer really having to make that big save early in the game, which, like you said, that Columbus probably could have had a 2-0 lead pretty quickly. But what's nice is that as that period progressed, they definitely did settle into their own. And ultimately, from the second period on, it was like a completely different hockey team. They got a goal. The goal, I think, that really helped split the period up was Ghosts. The way he came through the slot. It was another great. Veleno, going back to the preseason, has been fantastic at the cross ice, like catching the trailer coming through the zone pass. And we saw it with him with Sprong in the preseason. And then we saw it, I think, with Berggren. And then we saw it here with Ghost cutting right through the center of the ice as Veleno was taking the puck down into the far left corner. And he just brings it right through two different Blue Jacket defenders, and Ghost finishes it off. And it was a beautiful sauce, a little bit of wobble to it, but didn't matter for Ghost, and he slammed it home. And that kind of helped set the tone moving into the second period. And they just didn't look back. They got the suffocating defense from that point on. They started skating extremely well, and more of what we saw in those first two games with New Jersey and Tampa. Arguably, with New Jersey, the skating wasn't fully there, but defensively, you didn't see the big lapses that you saw with Tampa that I thought, where a lot of odd man rushes and or breakaways were given up. And that was part, I think, with the aggressive nature that they're trying to push right now, especially when they get in the offensive zone. So I thought they were a little bit better in that sense. And hopefully that's something they continue to push off of, because the way they set up the D pairing for that game, like you said, they went back to 12-6. Petrie was out, but I was really happy that Mata and Ghost were back together. Yep. That reminds me, like I said early on, of Mata with Roenick. And I think those two are going to excel with each other. And quite honestly, Hull and Sherratt, I wasn't too upset with what they had going on. I thought Hull was doing a great job of controlling the puck in the defensive zone and helping with the breakout. Sherratt was being a shit disturber. If someone got in his way, he would make sure they were no longer there, especially when they would get in tight on the goal. And then Walman and Seider, they just did their thing like we typically see from them. So it was overall top to bottom, like the goal scorers, with the exception of line A, you weren't too, oh no, why aren't they covering these guys like we saw with the New Jersey situation? So seems like they settled in after a couple of games, which is to be expected. So now I just hope to carry that momentum, because tomorrow night it's going to be a tough matchup with Pittsburgh coming to town.
The one thing you really notice looking at the game stat card is that every single player had a positive defensive impact. There was not one negative defensive impact on the team, which is
wild.
Which is exactly what you want from a coach who's preaching a defense first system. But Tyler, go ahead.
I thought they were good overall, as Ryan kind of alluded to. The first period was not great, but they got out of it. Reimer made a couple really quality saves. One was on line A, and the other one was on Texier, which was like point blank. Made a huge save on him. And then, I mean, they kind of just went from there. Gostisbehere, obviously. The Rasmussen goal was kind of a tale of never give up kind of thing, where he dangled the defenseman, dangled the goalie, kind of like shot it, and then kind of got his own rebound and put it in. And then Larkin's goal was obviously beautiful, where he just split the D and just went in and went backhand.
His patented backhander through the legs.
That was Zetterberg-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that Larkin goal, he likes to do that in the shootout. That's slowly becoming Zetterberg slash Gustav Nyquist kind of esque. And then Andrew Copp, another really good game I thought by him. I actually, I'll double back a little bit and say that was definitely his best game so far this season. I thought he was effective. I liked him at the center position. I think more than I like him on the wing. And I think Compher, they could be interchangeable there. I don't think either of those guys are going back to the third line. So it's like those guys are going to be your center slash wing, and then Compher is going to be a center slash wing. And then, maybe in terms of face-offs, you kind of figure it out how you want to divide it or not. But I think I like Copp more at center than I do on the wing. And then just to touch on it just quickly, James Reimer was fantastic. I mean, yeah, he made a couple of those really good saves early on, kind of kept them in the game. And he made some other really good saves as well in that game. So I thought Reimer was fantastic. Greg, you kind of alluded to it. He's more than just a backup goalie. I think he's more of a 1B slash starter kind of goalie, fringe starter at this point of his career, probably. But I saw people talking about how he was terrible with San Jose, and I'm just like,
If you're using San Jose as your measuring stick, just stop.
That team was fucking absolutely terrible last year. And they're going to be terrible again this year. So James Reimer coming to Detroit and winning a game and shutting out the Columbus Blue Jackets, who I know they're not the projected to be a playoff team or anything like that. But would it surprise you if they're a playoff team? Probably not, because they have a lot of good players. Goaltending, I guess, is kind of an issue for them. But if they could all put it all together, I mean, they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, I think the other word that the word I used today, Big D Energy, I was on there talking in the chat, and the DMAC had asked, like, what is one word you would use to describe that game? And the word was complete. Like, that's what it was.
Mhm.
And it's not just scoring from your top level guys. You had Rasmussen with a goal, you had Ghost with a goal. Larkin did get one, but Andrew Copp scored. And you're getting that depth scoring, you're getting scoring from the defense. But the more impressive part is you had 11 guys that night with points. And that is what you need to see. You had Compher with an assist, Mata with an assist, Veleno, DeBrincat, Raymond, Seider, and Wallman all had assists during that game. And again, so in our Discord, we're playing a fun new game called Puck Pals. So you pick your pal for the game, and it's like Light the Lamp, but I didn't want to use Light the Lamp, so I called it Puck Pals. And I mean, everyone got points. Like, the team got points. Everyone got points that night. It was a great night to start the game. But 11 guys, and that's really impressive, because if you go and look at these stats, I mean, right now you've got your team leader of Alex DeBrincat with 5 points. So suck it, Ottawa. JT Compher has 4 points. Shane Gostisbehere has 3. Larkin has 3. Seider has 3. Sprong has 2. Copp has 2. Raymond has 2. Jake Wallman. The only guys without points, Ben Sherratt. I'm not even going to count Austin Zarnik. Christian Fisher, Justin Hull, Klim Kostin, David Perron, Jeff Petrie. Those are the only guys without points right now. And watching the games, you can see why some of them don't have points. But you're getting scoring, you're getting playmaking up and down the lineup, which is what is really going to drive this team forward. And it's going to boost the anemic offense that you had last season. Because the problem last season was that if Dylan Larkin's not scoring or Lucas Raymond's not scoring, you're screwed. Like, no one's doing it. Or David Perron, but not this season apparently yet. But now you've got guys chipping in. You've got setup guys that can help out on each line. You've got defense throughout the entire forward core. And you've got what's been really impressive is the puck movement so far. The puck movement, the setup, the passing's been tape to tape, which we haven't seen in God knows how long. But especially the zone entry and the puck movement from the defense has been very good so far this season. And that's what's really helped them out, because they're able to now break guys out more effectively and get it to the goalie quicker than they had been able to in the past, 5+ seasons.
Yeah. Which works out great, because you don't have a guy like Alex Nedeljkovic in net, where he is the aggressive, play the puck type goaltender. Husso, and we saw with Reimer, they're very passive back there, at least in the short way things have started this season. But like, you've already seen what Shane Gostisbehere is going to bring to this defense, and I think he is going to be a much improved version of Phil Hronek. And that's not to take anything away from Hronek, but the consistency factor with Ghost, I think, is there. Now, I think Vancouver's off to a completely ridiculous start in terms of their goal scoring production right now. So
They
good for
just
him.
lost
Did they just lose? Never mind.
To Philadelphia, nonetheless.
2-0.
Oh, did they really? Didn't they have 12 goals in 2 games to start?
Yeah, I picked up Brock Besser in fantasy.
Anyways, all right. Well, I recant that only partially. But you see the impact that he's out there making, especially with Olimata and really just in general, like on the power play, they're running with two defensemen. That's not only the confidence that you have in what you're putting on the ice for your power play, but also how effective he is in not only just moving the puck, but putting pucks on net. And I think we've seen a little bit better confidence from Seider in terms of that aspect, in terms of getting the puck toward the net. We've already seen Wallman putting up 95-mile-an-hour slappers, which has been fantastic. And I think Sherratt, he's always been more of an aggressive type. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Take it as you will. But him and Hull, they've been sound in what they've been trying to do with the puck. So your entire defense, the only bad thing I can really comment on in terms of oh no, why did you do that play to this point from the defense in terms of trying to get a puck on net, was Mata against Tampa. Weak wrister, knocked down by Hedman, breakaway goal for Hagel. Outside of that, I think they've been really good at either getting the puck in deep to the another forward or getting pucks through bodies. And that's going to be huge to hopefully maintain that going forward.
This is definitely the best puck moving decor that we've had easily since the last playoff team.
And hopefully it only continues to get better. I mean, I don't want to say it'll happen, but I think with the way some of these guys went to Grand Rapids, like in Edmonton, if they crush it to start the season early and maybe a Sherratt Hall, probably Sherratt or Petrie, I think would be the two that are going to be on thin ice in terms of, hey, either do the right thing or you're getting sitting packing. And you could see maybe sooner rather than later in Edmonton or whoever get a call up on the defensive side of things. Now, if they continue to do the team aspect of how they're playing in terms of 5 people on the ice, 5 guys playing a solid defensive game to help maybe minimize what one of these individual guys is doing, we'll see what happens. But you can't have the absolutely terrible holding penalties that we saw from Petrie or just getting flat-footed and beat. And we've seen it really from all the defensemen at this point. But who can take those out of their game as we continue to move forward? I think that's going to be huge. Like Seider, we saw that game 1, not comfortable, but he's gotten back to his normal self in the next 2 games. So it's early. I'm not trying to jump the gun, but I think that things could happen quicker than we may anticipate if they don't go well for some of those guys on defense.
Yeah, it's a promising start, and I don't think going forward, I don't think you can scratch Ole Mata anymore. His Corsi 4 right now leads the team with 63.3%, which means when he's on the ice, we control the puck more than the other team. But his relative Corsi 4 is 17.6, which means that around 18 shots per 60 minutes go on the opposing team's net when he's on the ice. Second is Lucas Raymond right now with a relative Corsi of 14.7. So that's around 15 more shots on net when Raymond is on the ice than when he's off the ice. So you got Ole Mata's leads in the Corsi 4. Lucas Raymond is second. Dylan Larkin is third. Alex DeBrincat is fourth. Ghost is fifth. Sprong is sixth. Those are guys that you came into the season going, these are guys that are going to make the team better. That if they do what they're supposed to do, Raymond takes a step. Ghost performs like Ghost can. You've got number 7, Joe Veleno, who is a guy who has picked his game up. And it is a guy who is, what motivates you more than the possibility of losing your job? But Joe Veleno has really elevated his game. And he played up in the 3C role, did not look bad in it at all. So Veleno's a guy I'm excited for this season as long as he continues on this path. But what Newsy had said before the season started was that last year, Joe Veleno, you want the first part of the season, Joe Veleno, for the whole season. And he started the season good again. He has to continue to do what he has done so far. throughout the rest of the season, because that's the kind of player you want Joe Veleno to be, is the first part of the season Joe Veleno. Now you need that to be a whole season Joe Veleno.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that because that's one thing I wanted to bring up because we were talking about him and Berggren during the preseason where they started rough. And about what 3-4 games into things, it seemed like they turned around. We were watching the game and they both had, I think, a goal or an assist to each other or something like that. And they didn't really look back after that point. So I think that led to a lot of the shock when Berggren got sent down. But Veleno is playing his role the way that he should. And I think he's been my pleasant surprise through 3 games so far in terms of just the consistency piece and not looking out of place when it comes to whoever it is that he's up against on the ice. And I've been very, very pleased with how he's been performing.
I got nothing to add on that. I agree with both of those specimens. And I will just say one thing.
Specimens?
I agree with both of those assessments.
Tyler looks at them under a microscope.
And then just to touch quickly on the Veleno, yeah, Veleno's played really well. And then in terms of Berggren, I mean, getting off to those rough starts in the preseason is probably one of the reasons why he's not on the opening night roster. So that's just one thing to keep in mind.
Well, I guess if we're going to talk about people in Grand Rapids, can we take a minute to reflect on just the absolute dominance of Sebastian Cossa in his first game this season, where he has a goals against average of 2, a save percentage of .953. I think he saved 41 of 43 shots in his season debut.
It's not bad.
And off to a no, that's, I mean, it's pretty average, right, Ryan? He's off to a phenomenal start, which is what we need. I think if you come out and have a game like that where you just shut it down and you win it for your team, then I think that's a great, like, getting off to the right foot. It sets the tone for you for the rest of the season, hopefully. And maybe Sebastian Cossa will finally make people shut up. I think that's my hope.
I hope so, because I think I forget who had the article on The Athletic about redrafting the 21 and 22 classes, and they had dropped Cossa quite a ways down. And one of their comments was finding that consistency factor to try to bump him up further on their list from where he was. So
how can you even do a redraft already? You got to wait like 5 years to do a redraft. You got to wait till like most of the classes in the NHL.
I'm just telling you what's out there.
I don't know. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor before we close out the episode. We went way too long without a break. So I'm going to throw one in right here. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the PK and the power play. And then we'll close it out with a prediction for the next game tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll be right back in. We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. Licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. We're back, and I hope everyone likes the new intro song. There's a new intro song. If you guys haven't listened to it yet either, go check it out. But yeah, the people who are listening on Spotify or Podbean or Apple or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to stuff, it's there. And I thought it sounded pretty cool. But we're going to talk about the penalty kill, and we're going to talk about the power play. First penalty kill, the Detroit Red Wings rank 15th in the league in penalty kill. And that's not bad because it's been 3 games. We've had 12 penalties called against us, and our PK is 83.3%, which is good. You want to be in the 80s, you'd rather be in the 90s. There are, let's see, 7 teams with 100% PK through, let's see,
9.
Colorado's got 9 penalties that they are at 100%. Chicago's 10, San Jose's 6, Vegas is 9, Calgary's 10. The highest right now is Seattle with 11 penalty kills at 100%. Right above us is Tampa, who has 7 penalty kills at 85.71. Buffalo, who's got 7 at 85.71. Ottawa, who has 14 penalties killed at 85.71. So we need to bump the number up. Again, it's early, but the penalty kill to me has been fairly impressive.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to this point, and I think we talked about this too, Tyler, is that they struggle to clear the puck, which kind of is a carryover from last season, which is a little bit frustrating. But I think what's nice to this point is that they are very aggressive on the puck holder. And if you look back, like I'm not trying to say this is what news he might have brought in, but I know who is Bugner in charge officially of the PK?
Yeah, I don't think they call him the PK coach, but Bob Bugner has been in charge of the penalty kill.
So I mean, we saw it last year, but they've been really aggressive on the puck holder, and I'm hopeful that doesn't get them too tired at times. But there really hasn't been too many opportunity where they've been out of position per se, like on one timers or anything of that nature. Like with Tampa in particular, the one that ended up hurting them the most was just Hedman being Hedman. Walked the puck
Yep.
in from the point and sniped a corner because they had Paul sitting in front of Husso and he had no shot at it. I think the one frustration I'll say I have to this point, and I think we saw this last year, is they don't really mess with the guy that's in front of Husso too much. They more try to eliminate the shots, which against Tampa, in a way, it makes sense that they kind of went with the 1-1-2, where the guys up front were kind of rotating over top each other, and they were really working to eliminate those one timers from Kucherov and Stamkos. So I get that, which worked out great. But now you've got a guy like Nick Paul, who's a beast in front of Husso or any goalie for that matter, and Hedman, who has one of the best shots from the point. So it's gonna be a bit of a give and take, I think. But there's not too many teams that can ice a power play unit like that. So hopefully we see that number start to go up a little bit.
I think you gotta clear the front of the net. I don't think you can just leave a guy sitting down there. I think you gotta
Yeah,
at
but
least pick up
do you clear the
sticks.
front of the net? I mean, you have a three-headed monster with Tampa in this sense, because if you don't clear the front of the net, now you're leaving one of Kucherov or Stamkos open for either a ridiculous one-timer or they're stepping up. Because now what you end up doing is if you type a guy like Paul and you leave Stamkos open, for instance, now Hedman's pushing the puck to Stamkos. You've got your defense now trying to switch men. So one guy leaving the guy in front to go take on Stamkos on the shooter if your forward can't get over there quick enough, which then opens you up on the backside.
Yeah, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the
Yeah.
one thing that that most goalies will tell you is if they can see a one timer, they can make the save on it. Whether it's on Stamkos, whether it's on Kucherov. The problem is when there's there's garbage in front of the net. When there's traffic in front of the net, there's not really much they can do. Especially when a guy like Stamkos is loading up, or
Mm.
with a Nick Paul, or previously a Patrick Maroon right in front, or Alex Killorn right in front of the net.
Corey Perry.
The Corey Perry, guys like that can screen the goalie, that are big, that know how to tip the puck. That's when you run into problems. That's why I think that you try to clear out the front of the net. But I hear what you're saying, because you're kind of opening up yourself in another way if you do kind of clear out the front of the net. You got to at least pick up stick. And I think they've done a pretty good job of that so far, other than the Tampa game.
Yeah, I think what you want to look at too is that during the Columbus game, they almost implemented sort of a power kill like we had seen before, trying to get
Mhm.
that puck and drive it up, even though they're on the kill, because they were ahead and they were playing dominant for most of the game. They got aggressive on their penalty kill to try to clear the zone, to try to break guys out. They did a couple times. I mean, it works when it works and it's effective, because if you can get it out, if you can have a guy skate it out instead of dumping it down, you're going to control it more. You're going to waste more time away from your own zone. as long as your guys can double back fast enough. If they can back check fast enough to get in, if the opposing team gets the puck back, then you can do that power kill, and it can lead to some offensive opportunity, which is what we're looking at, especially with the guys we have now. But if we look at the power play, the Red Wings have a third ranked power play in the league. We have 10 power
Yes, it's
plays.
through
We
three
have
games, but it looks
it
freaking
is,
good.
yeah. We've converted on 4 of them. Our power play percent is 40%, which is good. I mean, for the beginning of the season, you're third, which the power play is something we said special teams as a whole needs to be better. The power play, I think you need to have a top 15 power. You need to be above the halfway mark in power play during the season, consistently all season. So don't let this drop. But like we mentioned earlier, the movement has been solid. The passes have been solid. The deception has been solid. Zone entry has been really good. And you've got the shooters to do it now. You've got DeBrincat, who's been dangerous. You got Raymond, who's showing the shots. You got Larkin, who's been dangerous. You've got the guys to run that power play. And I mean, Raymond's been on power play 2, and I think that should probably switch to power play 1, swap him and Perron, since Perron's got nothing really going on right now. And power play 2 sees less ice. But I can't complain. I have nothing to complain about for the power play. Nothing at all.
Yeah, the way that started, especially with the puck movement, like I said, they're going with 2 defensemen back there with Ghost and Seider, but it's not hurting them, and I think that's fantastic because you've got a lot of guys with good mobility right now working that power play, and like their first unit, like you mentioned, yeah, it's Perron with Larkin, DeBrincat, Seider, and Ghost, but I mean, you're not hurting. I think we saw them a little bit more against Tampa with the second unit. Yeah, Compher or Copp at center. Then you've got Raymond, Sprong, and Wallman. I mean, that one almost to me is equally as dangerous as your first unit, mainly because you've got a great shot with Raymond, you've got a hell of a shot with Sprong, and you've got a howitzer with Wallman. And then you've got your 2 playmakers. We've already seen what Compher can do in front of the net with redirecting shots in with that Seider point shot. And then we know that Copp is going to be your playmaker along with Raymond on this whole thing. So there's a lot of balanced skill there that I like. Tyler.
I would almost like to see Rasmussen supplant David Perron on the first power
Sure.
play unit. Just
Yeah,
have
I
him
could
as
do
a
that.
net front kind of situation. But I agree with you. I think the power play, I don't really have many complaints. I think they've moved it well. Even when they haven't scored, they've generated dangerous scoring opportunities. They haven't lost momentum by getting the power play, which has been a very common theme over the last couple of years. So I think that's been good. But also, talking about both units, I think they both have been pretty good. I don't know what the splits are in terms of power play goals on both of those units, but I think overall they've both been good. It's looked equally as good when the first unit comes off the ice and vice versa. So
I think even to continue that a little bit, like what's really nice about both those units, and this probably speaks to a lot of why Perron is there. When a pass or a shot go awry, they're keeping possession. And I think that's what really speaks to how they're trying to implement this. Like Ghost is going to get pucks because he's all set up on the right point, either for a one timer or what have you. He's not afraid to go in it and get it. We see Perron already doing that all the time. DeBrincat, I think, has been fantastic with his forecheck and going after loose pucks already through 3 games. So you take that piece of it as a whole, it helps speak to the fact that they're at a 40% tick to start this season out. Now, it's 3 games, 10 power play tries, but there's what they're trying to implement early on is clicking, and I think that's what's key.
Absolutely. So let's look forward to the game that is going to be on tonight by the time this is posted, hopefully, as long as I work really quickly tomorrow. That is against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are 2-1-1, who just won on Saturday 5-2 against the Calgary Flames. And they've looked really good, unfortunately. The Penguins, they do have Jake Gensel back to start the season. He does have 3 points.
Very surprising.
Yeah, he does have 3 points
it
in
did
3
lose
games.
to Chicago.
Sure. I mean, Chicago's a weird anomaly as much as they would love to just talk about nothing but Connor Bedard. The Chicago Blackhawks did beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-1, and neither Matthews nor Bedard had a point in that game. which I think is possibly the best outcome you could ever ask for out of that game, because a person in our division loses and neither of the people that the league loves to jerk off get any points, which is phenomenal to me. But I mean, it's a Red Wings team who's hot against a Pittsburgh Penguins team who is equally as hot. And it's an
Mhm.
interesting matchup because I think they're 100% healthy. Ned had 2 goals against and 36 saves for a 9.44 that night on Saturday. You'll probably get Tristan Yari going. I said Yari even though I was supposed to say Jari because my nose is fucked up.
Yeah, you know.
So we'll take it. But I think this will be a really good one, and it's a home game because Ryan will be there. So
Yep.
LCA is going to be loud again. It's going to be rocking.
Hopefully. It's a Wednesday night game, so we'll see how the crowd is.
I'm going 3-2 Wings, man. I'm going 3-2 Wings. I think that Pittsburgh needs a little bit of a reality check. So I'm going to go 3-2 Wings.
I could see it. I think what's going to be really key, and this you can argue this is important for any game, but they need to stay out of the box against this Pittsburgh squad
So
because
bench David Perron.
because they were scary. The game I was able to see against Chicago, even though it didn't technically amount to much. The puck movement with Crosby, Malkin, Letang, or I'm sorry, Letang wasn't even on the first unit. It was Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Rust, and Carlson. Wow. Fast, great vision, great puck movement. Carlson walked a guy at the blue line like it was nothing. Like that team on the power play could very well do some damage. And I that's going to be, I think, one of the biggest keys for Detroit going into that game.
Tyler? Oh, Ryan,
Yes.
score.
Score 4-2, Detroit.
All right, Tyler.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that if they're going to win the game, they got to stay out of the box. That first power play unit, and I think at one point they did have Carlson and Letang out there at the same time.
I think they did
But
later on in the game, if I remember correctly.
yeah, no, they didn't later on. I think it was to start. And they also had that in the preseason. But regardless of the situation, they have some dangerous guys out there on that power play unit. So it'll be key to stay out of the box as it is against any good team. Um, but I think this game will be 1-5-on-5. I think Detroit will have a good opportunity to win the game. I'd say they win the game, but I say it's really close and it's in overtime. I say they win 4-3 in overtime with a
Awesome.
Alex DeBrincat overtime
Oh,
winner right in front
oh,
of Ryan,
oh my
No,
God.
it'd be
Right,
the
right
opposite
in
end if
front
that's
of
the
his
case.
face.
right
Oh,
right in front of your face.
Overtime takes to the other end.
does it? They switch
Yeah.
sides?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
in front of your face, like you'll be watching it in front of you, but like not directly in front of you, but further down
Live.
the ice.
You mean live in front
Yes,
of Ryan?
exactly.
Is what
Sure.
in the same vicinity as Ryan is where it's
Okay.
going to happen. All right, give me your socials before we sign off, guys.
Already Ryan 33.
0, 1, 2. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Socials. Uh,
Jesus
you can
Christ.
follow me on
Great
Twitter
joke,
at
Tyler.
SealDog91.
Don't ever do that again. I'll tell the jokes around here, Tyler.
Oh God, that's not much better.
You didn't
You can
like that? Come on.
No, you can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. We are so happy hockey is back. If you are in the arena at any time, you can hit us up and I'll let you know if Ryan will be there to where you could say hi to him. He loves saying hi to people, and it's a lot of fun. So, again, we like to give a shout out to Vintage Detroit, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from, and worked on the Hockey Podcast Network for hosting us and spreading our podcast around to all you lovely people. If you use a promo code Grindline on Howie's Hockey Tape, you get 10% off. Same code on Bring Hockey Back, you get 12% off. Go sub to us on YouTube. You can see all these fancy stat cards that I talk about during the game. I put them up next to our beautiful faces. Sometimes I put up funny pictures where Tyler is not. And I swear, Tyler, this episode I will change your name to your actual name and not Tyler's vacant spot like I have the past 2 episodes. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan and eventually Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.